Let's go to our first video since we rebranded. We are the Giga Bros, and I have my acquaintance here with me. Say hello.
Hi guys.
So today we'll be doing a gigabash tier list, as you can see by the title. We're starting off in order with Gorgon. I feel like Gorgon's more of a close range fighter, but he takes too long to charge up to do any real damage. But what do you think?
Yeah, just it's very easy to counter him.
And also, is this his heavy? Just press it once, the leap ish. Usually, you'll end up behind your opponent because it's hard to really accurate. Like, they're always moving, and it's a move that kind of requires them to be standing still. It doesn't even do that much damage. Maybe to dodge something, but you can just use your dash move for that. His block moves are kind of actually good though. It can really do some nasty damage if you can use them right. I feel that he's a D tier. What about you?
Yeah, I would say D tier as well.
Next, we have Pibby Juras. And I feel like he's one of the most spammy characters. So, wait 1 second. So, Pibby Juras. My friend here is just playing gigabash as we speak, and I think he's losing. So, Pippi Juras is a very spammy character, as I said. You can just spam the little balls. But if you're really good at accuracy, a big ball, if they're coming at you, or you can predict their move and they're going to be coming at you, but there's got to be a moment where you can use the big ball. Big ball is very useful. It can do quite good damage. I've used it as a finisher many times in the past. Also, might I add, he has some of the best skins. His block move can reflect. His block square is insane. His block triangle, good for combos. But I feel like he can be a bit lackluster compared to others. He kind of relies on spamming. What do you think?
Yeah, just relies on spamming. Very easy.
So I'd say maybe a B tier would be fitting of Pibby Juras.
B tier for sure.
Moving on, we have Thundertross, a very, I would say, pretty good for combos. His comboing isn't the best, but the lightning is OP. Many times, I remember one time I was in a fight, and I got off the lightning 5 times in a row. They didn't even get on the ground, but I couldn't even see them. And it suddenly just came, it was a Gorgon that I was fighting, so they just came in the sky, fully charged square, and I got flung. It took so much damage. It was quite a good fight. I feel like he's one of the very enjoyable. His lightning, as I said, is very powerful. He's got his block square is probably one of the best moves in the game. If your opponent's up close, and they're running mid-health, if you use that, it can be used as a deadly finisher. Or something to bring them even low. And if your opponent's above you, well, you can just do block triangle. A very good move. What do you think of his moves?
Yes, I think he's a very heavy hitter. But he's just very slow on his attacks, but still some great moves. I thought he was A tier.
Definitely a good A tier. He used to be my main before I moved on to Gigaman. And next we have another spammer, Wally. He's quite like Baby Juras, but he can eat. If you hold in triangle, he can eat range attacks, which is a pretty good move. And then his snowball could be used quite effectively. Also, his block triangle is pretty good as well. With him being able to, if a block is square, he can punish opponents for a heavy hit. The heavier the hit, I think, the more damage it does. So he can punish opponents I know it can be pulled off in seconds, allowing him for a good block, for a good reverb. What do you think of that move?
Very good move. Also, he has some moves that you cannot block.
true. Except that reverb one, that one can be pretty punishing. I'd say I'd put him in high B tier. What about you? High B A tier, probably about Puppy Duras, but we'll see. And next we have Skorak, who's more of a ranged attacker. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, the shell attack can be very, very decent and
Also, he's just very long range. You know, he can be very good on Mount Gorgon the map because he can just keep on using his shell to keep opponents in the lava.
He's actually very underrated with the fact that he can heal by using grab tap plus triangle.
Very deadly. I think he was the only healer until flipping. I think he was the only healer until Destroyer.
Yeah.
So, which I think cements him at a low A tier, mainly because of the heal and the more area control vibe of him. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
So, I put him below Thundertross, definitely, but definitely up there. Next up, we have Gigaman, my favorite, my main. I love this guy. He can finally beam clash. I've been waiting for that one for so damn long. And he's some of the best skins in the game. With his rising skin, he looks younger, very agile looking, and zero gen. Ooh! I can't stop talking about this guy. I love him. He's really good at comboing. His beam is probably some of the most damaging ones. It can reverb, which is the only beam that can do that, making insane trick shots possible. Alright, I'm ranting on about him. But I just love this guy. He's really good comboing. His hold square in when fully charged, which doesn't take very long, unlike a Gorgon, is insanely punishing for anyone that's coming close. I would put him maybe a low S tier. What about you? Right, let's move on to Rohanna, the flower queen herself. She can be quite spammy sometimes, but I have to say not as spammy as some other characters that we already have talked about. Oh yeah, 100%. That minion does insane damage.
It's just impossible to get away from.
I know. Even as Gigan, I think the most agile character, I couldn't do it. Such an insane character. I would say maybe another low S tier. Mainly carried by her ultimate. But I'd say she's above Gigaman just because of the ultimate. Next up we have the Extinction Dragon himself, Rawa. This used to be my main. But I just love this guy. Well, not as much anymore. But his flamethrower is pretty good. His Rhino Charge, very good. His block moves are sub-power, but if you have your second life, maybe doing a team battle and your teammates are low, you can fully charge it all the way and sacrifice yourself, but probably kill the other two too. And what about you?
I'd say is high A tier, maybe low S tier. Just such high damaging attacks. And it's just amazing.
I would say maybe mid S tier. I just think his Rhino Charge is like almost impossible to avoid.
You say mid F tier?
No, mid S tier.
Yeah.
And his ultimate is pretty darn good as well. So mid S tier, the current highest king. Next up, we have Zyba. I feel like this guy's a bit weird because he has strong attacks, but I feel like he's a mid-range fighter, which is very uncommon. Most of them are either close ranged, far ranged. Most of them are more close ranged, but some of them, I think the only ever really mid-ranged one would probably be like I feel like Wally would be mid-range.
I think Mechagodzilla would be
Yeah, he's also mid-range. Apart from that Absolute Zero, that's pretty long range. Also, Rohana would be a bit more mid-ranged. But I feel like Zyva's a bit more inconsistent because some of his attacks are really close, where some of them go a bit further. It's like hard to tell, but he's definitely more of a mid-range fighter. But I just feel he's very lackluster compared to a lot of other characters. I just feel like he can't really hold his own when somebody's coming straight at him, and there's not a whole lot he can do. Maybe the block triangle is the only really thing he can do. Most of his attacks take a good bit to do anything. I'll put him in maybe high B tier.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Definitely above Pibby Juris and Wally. Isn't Wally in B tier, I think?
I thought Wally was low B.
Oh yeah, he is low B tier, I think. Well, anyway, he's high A tier. Anyways, next up we have Concrete, the newest non-DLC character in the final. Before we move on to DLC, I feel like he's very lackluster. You know, his attacks. He's another maybe a bit more mid-range, but it's hard to tell. He's definitely a good bit close range. I feel like he's more of a mid-close range fighter. Long range is just not his thing. All his attacks are just so mid. And I feel like he's no really punishing attacks. What about maybe a C tier?
Yeah, I'd say C tier.
Alright, next up we have the first DLC. Gigan. Very agile. I feel like he also could be lackluster. His laser scatter beam is quite good, I would say. But I don't feel like his buzzsaw is also pretty good. He has some pretty good combos. What about you?
Yeah, very good combo. Very easy to dodge ultimate. Well, most of them. And just a very fast character.
But I feel like he could be a bit more of a glass cannon, A lot of his, he has some pretty good attacks, but a lot of the other ones just feel very lackluster. Maybe a top of B tier.
Yeah, top of B tier sounds great.
Yeah, I feel like that's where he belongs. Next up we have Godzilla, the atomic lizard himself. I feel like this guy is a very, very long-range fighter with a bit of mid-range attack sprinkled in there. You know, with the drop kick. And if an opponent gets too close, he has that pulse, which can get them very far away. I feel like his beam, it doesn't take that long to charge, and when it hits, it does so much damage, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lot of damage. His beam can go across the entire map.
I know, it's just insane. I feel like he would go maybe mid S tier.
Mid S tier. I'd put him at high S tier.
You know what? Yep, high S tier. The new King Godzilla, out-rivaling his copy Rawa. Well, next up we have Mecha Godzilla. I feel a lackluster character again. His Absolute Zero is pretty neat, but I just feel like he's lacking in every other area. He's a mid or long range character, kind of like Godzilla, but I feel like having the juggle around using different moves is really well because he's one of the few characters with beams, right? And the main appeal of beams are you can beam spam. Yeah, it's great. But the thing is, he can't. He can only use an Absolute Zero like once for having the recharge, and then like 2 electric beams depending on how strong they are. Maybe 3 if they're like only charged for like a second. I just feel he can be quite lackluster, but he has some powerful attacks as well. His missiles are very punishing for anyone who comes in range, but maybe a low A tier.
Yeah, no A tier would be good.
Right, next up we have Destroyer. Or Destroyer. It depends on it, but it's Destroyer, okay? It's just Destroyer. I feel like he used to be on my main. He can be very hard to deal with. A good beam spammer, pretty good damage. He's got heals as well. What do you think as well?
Yeah, his pitching moves, his block moves, they're all just great. He can double jump, which is amazing, to just get away and use his square air attack. The fact that he can heal is amazing. I'm putting him at high S tier.
I know that jumping square is very punishing to anyone who gets hit by. But I do agree with a high S tier, but is he above Godzilla?
I don't know. No, that's up for you to decide.
I feel like they're very close, but I feel like Destroyer can get away a bit better.
Yeah.
Godzilla mainly relies on his beams and his dropkick and his pulse, while Destroyer uses a lot more moves. I feel like Destroyer is definitely top of S tier, maybe even the best character in the game. Up for debate, but I feel like there's our next character is the only real one that can rival him for the top spot along with Godzilla. Next up we have